notes. Dagmar Overbye, a name that casts a long dark shadow over Denmark. In the early 20th century, she became infamous as the Angel Maker. Her crimes forced a nation to confront the vulnerabilities of its most innocent children. Overbye's story is not just a tale of horror, but a reflection of a society that failed its most vulnerable. Unmarried mothers in early 1900s, Denmark faced crushing stigma and poverty. Overbye offered them a discreet solution. She would care for their unwanted infants. Many believed she was giving their babies a chance at a better life. The truth was far more disturbing. Behind closed doors, Overbye preyed on desperation and exploited a broken system. Her actions shocked Denmark, exposing the flaws in childcare and adoption laws. The scale of her crimes was almost unimaginable. Her trial became a turning point in Danish legal history. It led to reforms that still shape child welfare today. This story is about more than a criminal. It's about a society forced to change. We'll explore how Overbye operated, how she was caught, and the legacy she left behind. Her case is a chilling chapter in Danish history. It's a story of trust betrayed, innocence lost, and a nation's reckoning. The Angel Maker's shadow still lingers, but so does the lesson. Societies must protect their most vulnerable. This is the story of Dagmar Overbye and the children who should never be forgotten. In early 1900s Copenhagen, Dagmar Overbye presented herself as a caretaker for infants. For unmarried mothers, options were few and the stakes were high. Overbye advertised in newspapers, promising to find good homes or provide temporary care for babies born out of wedlock. Desperate mothers, shamed by society and facing economic ruin, saw her as a lifeline. They paid her significant sums, trusting her with their children's futures. Overbye moved frequently, operating in secrecy and avoiding scrutiny. Mothers would hand over their infants, hoping for a better life for their child. But Overbye was not finding homes. She was not providing care. The system allowed her to function unchecked. There was little oversight of private childcare, especially for illegitimate children. Adoption was informal, with few records and no follow-up. Overbye exploited this secrecy. Mothers, eager to keep their pregnancies hidden, rarely asked questions. They trusted her, never suspecting the grim reality. Overbye's role was hidden from authorities and mothers alike. She operated in the shadows, enabled by a society that looked the other way. The children vanished, and no one noticed, until it was too late. Her business thrived on silence and shame. The truth would only come to light when one mother refused to let go. Overbye's hidden role was about to be exposed. The consequences would shake Denmark and change its laws forever. Early 20th century Denmark had adoption laws, but they were weak and poorly enforced. Private adoptions were common, with little oversight or record-keeping. Overbye saw the loopholes and used them to her advantage. She promised secrecy to unmarried mothers, desperate to avoid shame. This meant fewer questions, fewer records, and no official follow-up. The focus was on hiding illegitimate births, not protecting children. Overbye thrived in this legal gray area. Once a mother paid and left her child, there was no accountability, no inspections, no checks, just silence. Mothers, fearing exposure, rarely reported concerns. Overbye counted on their silence. The lack of state responsibility for child welfare left children at risk. Charities existed, but their reach was limited. Overbye's method was simple: take the money, promise care, and make the child disappear. The system protected her, not the children. The societal stigma around unwed mothers created the perfect cover. Overbye's crimes were possible because the law looked the other way. She profited from a trade in human lives. The consequences were devastating. The system was not designed to catch someone like her, but eventually, it would be forced to change. And it all started with one mother's suspicion. Dagmar Overbye's downfall began with Caroline Ageson, a mother who refused to let go. Caroline had paid Overbye to care for her infant daughter, but soon felt uneasy. Driven by instinct, she returned to Overbye's apartment, demanding to see her child. Overbye tried to deflect, but Caroline persisted. Her determination was rare, and it changed everything. When Overbye's excuses failed, Caroline went to the police. She reported her fears, naming Overbye and describing their arrangement. The police, initially skeptical, decided to investigate. What they found was horrifying. In Overby's apartment, they discovered baby clothes and evidence of something far worse in the stove. The ashes revealed a terrible truth. This was no simple custody dispute. Overbye was arrested in September 1920. News of her arrest spread quickly, but the public had no idea of the scale. The authorities realized they had uncovered a crime of unimaginable proportions. Caroline's courage had opened the door to a house of horrors. The investigation was just beginning. More evidence would emerge, each piece more chilling than the last. The silence that had protected Overbye was finally broken. Denmark would never be the same. One mother's persistence had exposed a national nightmare. The truth could no longer be hidden. After her arrest, Dagmar Overbye faced intense police interrogation. The evidence was overwhelming. Confronted with the truth, Overbye confessed. Her admission was chilling. She had killed numerous infants entrusted to her care. She described her methods with disturbing calm. After taking payment, she would murder the babies, often within hours. Her motive was simple: profit. Once paid, the children became disposable. She disposed of bodies by burning, burying, or hiding them. The number of victims was staggering, at least 9 confirmed, possibly many more. Overbye's confession shocked the nation. Her lack of remorse was unsettling. The police worked tirelessly to corroborate her story, uncovering more evidence at every turn. Each discovery deepened the horror. Overbye's words painted a portrait of calculated cruelty. She had betrayed the trust of desperate mothers and extinguished innocent lives. Her confession would become the centerpiece of one of Denmark's most notorious trials. The country demanded justice. Dagmar Overbye's trial in 1921 gripped Denmark. Newspapers covered every detail. The public was transfixed. Overbye stood accused of multiple murders, her own confession and damning evidence at the center. Heartbroken mothers testified, describing their desperation and misplaced trust. The defense could do little in the face of overwhelming proof. The trial exposed not just Overbye's crimes, but the failures of the system that enabled her. Public outrage was immense. People demanded change. Overbye was found guilty of murdering 9 infants, though many believed the true number was higher. She was sentenced to death, later commuted to life in prison. The trial ended, but its impact was lasting. Denmark was forced to confront its own shortcomings. The case became a catalyst for reform. The darkness revealed in that courtroom would reshape the nation's laws and ensure that such horrors could never happen again. The Overbye case shocked Denmark into action. Lawmakers recognized the urgent need for reform. In 1923, the Child Welfare Act was passed, directly inspired by Overbye's crimes. The new law imposed strict regulations on childcare and foster arrangements. Supervision and inspections became mandatory. Adoption procedures were formalized, with better record-keeping and oversight. The anonymity that once protected predators like Overbye was eliminated. The state accepted responsibility for protecting all children. Support for unmarried mothers improved, reducing stigma and desperation. The reforms created a safety net that had never existed before. Overbye's dark legacy forced Denmark to protect its most vulnerable. The tragedy led to lasting positive change. Dagmar Overbye's name remains infamous in Denmark. Her crimes are a dark chapter in the nation's history. The Angel Maker is remembered for her betrayal of trust and unimaginable cruelty. She preyed on desperate mothers, turning hope into heartbreak. Her story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that evil can hide behind a mask of care. Overbye's case is still studied, her victims never forgotten. The reforms that followed are her unintended legacy. The neighborhood where she operated, Vesterbro, still remembers. Her infamy endures as a warning. Societies must protect the vulnerable. The shadow of the Angel Maker lingers, but so does the lesson: never again. Dagmar Overbye's legacy is one of horror and of change. Her crimes left scars on families and on Denmark itself. But her case forced a reckoning. Laws were reformed, and children's lives were saved as a result. The tragedy became a turning point for child welfare. Today, Overbye is remembered for her darkness, but also for the reforms her crimes inspired. Her story is a stark lesson in the need for vigilance and compassion. It reminds us that progress often comes from confronting tragedy. The systems that protect children must never be taken for granted. The Angel Maker's victims deserve to be remembered. Their loss changed a nation. The lesson endures: protect the vulnerable, always, and never forget.